All right, here we go. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Midwest Mayhem. I'm your host, Matt Martin, and I'm back with my partner in crime, Trevor Goldstein. We got a special guest with us this week, all the way from Los Angeles, California, and our Wisconsin aficionado, Christian Babcock. Christian, how's it going?
What's up, guys?
Good to have you here, buddy.
All right, so each week we normally start out with our What Did We Learn segment. So, Christian, why don't you tell us what you learned this week in the Big Ten?
Alrighty. So, since I'm from, far outside Big Ten country, mine's actually going to be a little controversial this week. It's going to kind of be what didn't we learn? And what I'm going to say is we don't know how good Nebraska is yet, but we're going to find out pretty soon.
That's exactly what I had written down. I think that's incredible because, I mean, you can go into it further, but you're probably going to say everything that I was about to say, so I'll let you keep going.
You know, it's funny that you say that. I actually had an Ohio State talking point as a potential one to use, but I figured since you guys are both Ohio State guys, you'd probably be talking about Ohio State. So
I've got a little bit to say about that, just a little.
But no, I want to hear what you have to say about Nebraska.
Yeah. Well, in any case, I just think with Nebraska, we saw against a Purdue team that, they went through a coaching change. Interim head coaches can sometimes inspire their team for a week or for the rest of the season. We've seen that before. Mm-hmm. But in any case, Nebraska struggled at home against a not very good Purdue team. They're 7-0, but they haven't played anyone really. And they're coming to Madison, and honestly, we're going to find out how good they are. And, okay, let me just say this. One, they haven't played anyone. Two, in the past few seasons, they've showed they haven't really been able to win big games. Three, many people think they're overrated in the polls. And four, I don't know if Tommy Armstrong is really a quarterback of an elite college football team. He's a great athlete. He can do some interesting things on the football field. He can scramble. He can pass pretty well. But when he gets contained by a good defense, it doesn't usually go well. So
I definitely agree. And that's one thing one of my friends and I have always talked about is Tommy Armstrong's a pretty good quarterback most of the time, but there's always times in big games where he makes a huge mistake that costs Nebraska a chance at winning these big games. And going on to your point that they really haven't played anybody, their first two games were against Fresno State and Wyoming, and then their last 5 games, they haven't won a single one by more than 16 points. And in those games have been Northwestern, a bad Oregon team, Illinois, Indiana, and Purdue. So not being able to, winning, Clemson does it every week. They just win. And, we're kind of holding Nebraska to a different standard. They're not blowing out teams, but they're just winning. And people have Clemson up at 3, so who knows? Maybe Nebraska is for real. Maybe they aren't. You're right. We'll definitely find out this week in Camp Randall. It'll be a tough one for them.
Yeah, and the other thing is, I could have paid more attention to the schedule. But I think after all these wins, the Wisconsin game has kind of come out of nowhere, and Nebraska's obviously taking notice. One point I would add is that Mike Riley, in some interviews, he said that he thinks all the close games could be helpful for them in games against teams like Wisconsin and Ohio State. But I think there's going to be a big shock initially for Nebraska.
Definitely.
Because the quality of team they're going to be playing is entirely different.
Yeah.
And they're going to have to deal with, and they're probably going to have to deal with their biggest, home team advantage that they don't have. Looking at their schedule, 5 of their first 7 games have been at home, and they've only gone to Northwestern and Indiana, both of which are not known to be especially tough places to play.
And it's a night game in Camp Randall, which is one of the tougher environments in all of college football. So
yep,
it'll be interesting. All right, Trevor, tell us what you learned.
Yeah, so you guys are focused on Nebraska, and they're an up-and-coming team. And I'm going to focus on the teams that were there that are no longer. So I have a question I'm going to propose to each of you. I want your answer. What did we learn this week? We learned that there are 4 powerhouse programs that are all just having a huge fall from grace. We had Oregon lose to Cal last week. They now have a 2-5 record. And just 2 years ago, they were in the national championship game. We had Stanford, their Pac-12 North rival, the two schools that have owned the Pac-12 for the last 7-8 years. They lost to Colorado last week, 10-5. 10-5. They're now 4-3, and they won the Rose Bowl last year. We have Notre Dame, who has lost to a 3-4 Texas team, a 2-5 Michigan State team, a 3-4 Duke team, an okay NC State team, and the previously mentioned Stanford team that's kind of fallen. They're now 2-5, and last year they played the BCS Bowl against Ohio State. And lastly, Matt knows my struggles with this team. I picked Michigan State to win 5 weeks in a row, and they've lost all 5 games. And last year, they were the Big Ten representative. So, Christian, I'm kind of curious. Oregon, Stanford, Notre Dame, Michigan State, which team has fallen from top to the bottom in like the biggest aspect for you?
I think it's got to be Michigan State. I mean, I think with Stanford coming back, there were a lot of quarterback questions. You know, people still don't really know who's the better quarterback out of Ryan Burns and Keller Christ. Burns has gotten more of the playing time, but he hasn't looked as good as Kevin Hogan. And I think it's an interesting narrative that we've explored in the Pac-12 podcast, is that Kevin Hogan was always kind of the annoyingly consistent quarterback for Stanford. Like, he played well, but I think some people, myself included, felt like if they could get a quarterback that was just a little bit better, like an Andrew Luck again, with their receiving core and their defense, they could have taken it all the way to the national championship and not had slip-ups against teams like Oregon and Northwestern. So that's an interesting dynamic. But I think you got to go with Michigan State because, I mean, and you could extend this back to the Cotton Bowl last year, their fall from grace, because they were number 3 in the country. The Big Ten's representative to the playoff, riding high. They get smoked by Alabama 38-0. But there's confidence next year because even though you're losing Connor Cook, I forget who their quarterback is. I haven't been paying attention. But they beat Ohio State. What was that?
Tyler O'Connor's their guy. Well, he's been kind of their guy the last couple of weeks.
That was Brian Lewerke last week. So, yeah, Michigan State's kind of in the same boat with Stanford of not really knowing who their quarterback is. Quick interject here, Christian. My mom's a Stanford alum, so I've been following Stanford my whole life. So I couldn't agree more with you and your Kevin Hogan. He's like the most perfectly Stanford type of quarterback. He makes the right plays and doesn't make mistakes. And I'm kind of insulted that you didn't actually ever mention Christian McCaffrey. You said the receiving core and their defense. No, if they made it to the national championship game, it would have been because of Christian McCaffrey. He is clearly playing hurt. I don't know. Those 4 teams have all fallen from grace. Matt, what do you think?
I definitely agree with the Michigan State thing. I think expectations were high this year. Tyler O'Connor, not many people knew what to think about, but when they played Ohio State here in the shoe last year and beat them, Tyler O'Connor was the quarterback. Connor Cook was hurt,
exactly.
Didn't play. O'Connor was the guy, so people kind of knew or thought that he would pick up from where he left off in that game. And they had L.J. Scott back. Their receivers were back. I mean, R.J. Shelton's a great target.
Malik McDowell,
their entire defense is back, too, and they've been a huge letdown from week, I guess it was
against Texas.
Now Michigan State played Lamar or someone like that week 1. And then they beat Notre Dame week 2, had a bye week 3, and then things came tumbling down against Wisconsin week 4. And since then, man, they've been struggling. You just think week after week, like, man, Michigan State has to win this game, right?
For the last 3 weeks, I've said,
right?
Man, Michigan State can't lose 3 in a row. They can't lose 4 in a row. They can't lose 5 in a row. Keep picking them.
But they just keep doing it. Speaking of Michigan State, they start off an incredible slate of games in the Big Ten this week, and it's all on ESPN. So if you got nothing to do on Saturday and you're just planning on watching football, park the bus on ESPN. Because you got a fun slate of games. You got Michigan going to Michigan State. I know Michigan State hasn't been good this year, but it's a rivalry game, and things go a little crazy.
And, Matt, Michigan State cannot lose 6 games in a row. It's not going to happen. Christian, what are your keys for this game?
I don't know if there is a key. I think this game is not going to be close at all. I think Michigan State's defense hasn't shown me anything. I think their offense hasn't shown me anything either. I think Michigan's defense is going to smother O'Connor. I think Michigan is going to have no trouble putting up points, any more points than they're going to allow. I don't think this game is going to be close at all. I think MSU loses 6 in a row.
All right, so let me tell you what I'm looking at. I'm looking at 2 different aspects here. I'm looking at Michigan State. If Mark D'Antonio has gotten these guys to have any fight in them, because there are seniors on this team. There's no way these guys want to not even make a bowl this year. If they have any fight in them, they need to show it. And the more important thing for me is this is Michigan's first time on the road. If we're getting technical, it's their second, but Rutgers doesn't count. So this is Michigan's first time on the road in an environment that might actually affect them in some way. I am looking for the way to Michigan to respond. I think it might be a sluggish first quarter. I think if Michigan State wants to win, they need to win like 9-6, like the game of the century, LSU, Alabama. I'm looking for Michigan to respond on the road. I'm looking for Michigan State to have fight.
I mean, both of those are fair points. My biggest key for the game is Michigan State needs to establish the run. It's what they were good at all year last year, and it's what carried them to the college football playoff. They've got two guys who are returning, Gerald Holmes and LJ Scott. Both are very talented running backs. If their offensive line can control the line of scrimmage and they have success running the ball, they might be able to run the clock down, make the game go by quickly, put the ball in the end zone. I mean, I think their defense has the talent to do it. There's no doubt about it. But like you said, Christian, they haven't shown us anything this year that makes me think that they're going to show it on Saturday. So we'll see. We'll get our picks a little bit later on all three of these games. So we'll move to the 3:30 game if you're just sticking on ESPN. Ohio State hosting Northwestern in the Shoe. Christian, what are your keys to this one?
I mean, I think this should be another blowout, but I think it'll be interesting to see how JT Barrett responds after 2 games in a row, one at Wisconsin where he really struggled until the very end where he was able to pull out the win. And then last week against Penn State, where I'm sure every Ohio State fan thinks they should have won that game. And obviously he has a young receiving core and a lot of inexperienced players to deal with. I mean, Ohio State has a lot of inexperienced players on both sides of the ball. But I want to see if JT Barrett can respond and if that offense can get humming again and put up some big points. And in Urban Meyer's tenure, after a loss, they basically just destroy everyone. So I'm looking for that to happen.
I mean,
against Northwestern.
I definitely agree with that. I mean, like you said, every Ohio State fan thinks they should have won that game. They absolutely should have won that game. There's no excuse for the special teams breakdowns that happened on Saturday night, and it can't happen again if this team's going to go to the playoff. There is a lot of inexperience, but like you said, Urban Meyer just destroys teams after losses. I think that if Ohio State won last week, Northwestern has been playing very well recently. And I think that Northwestern would have had a bit of a chance on Saturday. But now that Ohio State has one loss under their belt, I think there's nothing scarier than an angry Ohio State football team. And you look what they did after they lost to Michigan State last year. They came out and pummeled Michigan and pummeled Notre Dame in the Fiesta Bowl. I mean, they were 2 huge wins. The team played amazing after that loss. Hopefully it sparks a little something here on Saturday.
For me, I'm looking at 2 things. One on the field and one off the field. So on the field, I am looking for the Northwestern offense going up against Ohio State's defense. Northwestern's going to need to score to win because they're not going to be able to hold Ohio State's offense down forever. And I think whoever wins that battle has a significant edge in how the rest of the game goes. And off the field, this is what I think is intangible. It's funny you mentioned JT Barrett. I think he's Ohio State's biggest strength off the field is his leadership. I'm looking at what Matt has been saying the last couple of weeks. Northwestern is on a roll. This team is going to come to Columbus confident, riding high. And meanwhile, Ohio State, we're looking at the youngest team in the country. How do they respond to a loss? This is the youngest team versus a mature, respected team, a Northwestern that's on a roll. The offense is on fire. The defense is playing really well. I am looking for who can respond the quickest, who can respond the best. Is it going to be Ohio State's youth, or is it going to be Northwestern continuing this confidence, coming into Columbus and shocking? I mean, we've said Michigan State can't lose 3-4 times in a row. Ohio State definitely can't lose 2 times in a row, can they? But maybe they can.
it'll be interesting, and stopping Justin Jackson will be a very good test for this Buckeye team. All right, now a game I know you're very excited about, Christian. So since you're more knowledgeable about the subject, we'll let you go last on this one. The night game on ESPN, 7 o'clock kick. Wisconsin hosts Nebraska. I think one of the biggest things that stood out to me about, I guess, this week is seeing that Jack Sitchie, the linebacker from Wisconsin, is unfortunately out for the season.
Get better, Jack. You were the second best defender in the Big Ten just behind Jabril Peppers in my mind. Get better, dude. You're an awesome player.
It's extremely unfortunate that they just got their other star linebacker, Vince Beagle, back. I mean, you get a guy back, things are looking up, and then the guy right next to him goes down with an injury and is out for the year. I mean, tough loss, but I think Wisconsin's quarterback play is going to be a huge factor in this game. I mean, last week against Iowa, they were switching quarterbacks in and out between Hornibrook and Houston, and I didn't know what to think of either of them. I thought for the most part, in the first half, Houston got one drive, and the offense looked really good under him. And then Hornibrook came back in the game, and things weren't really rolling. So I was kind of confused last week. But I hope they get things figured out this week in practice, because I really want to see a good football game this Saturday.
Yeah, so for me, my key for Wisconsin was, again, the quarterback situation. I mean, I think Hornibrook's the better quarterback, but, man, they were humming with Bart Houston in his two drives last week.
You got to go with the hot hand.
Do you go with the hot hand if Hornibrook struggles to begin the game? But here's my thing. So I actually went back and listened to our first podcast just because I wanted to see kind of the improvements that Matt and I have made, where I think we're a lot better than we were to begin with.
I hope so.
When we predicted who was going to win the Big Ten, I said Wisconsin was going to win because they're not great on offense. They're not great on defense. They're not great on special teams, but they're really, really good at all of that. I think I'm going to amend my statement a little bit to say that they're great on defense, because I think they're one of the elite defenses in the country. But I stand by what I said. I still think Wisconsin is the best team in the Big Ten West. If they want to even have a shot to get to Indianapolis, they need to beat Nebraska tonight. But Saturday night, not tonight. I'm already so excited. But if Nebraska wants to prove they're for real, they need to beat Wisconsin, especially with a trip to Ohio State coming next weekend. This is Nebraska's chance, Mike Riley's chance, Tommy Armstrong's chance to prove that they're for real. I am really excited for this game. Christian, lay it on us. Give us some knowledge.
Okay, well, I think you're right in that it's the most exciting Big Ten game of the week for obvious reasons. And I think none more so than from Wisconsin's perspective, they've got 2 losses in the Big Ten. Now, with their schedule, that's pretty good. That's better than I was expecting coming into the season.
Absolutely.
I mean, you could say they, should have won one of those Michigan-Ohio State games. But, I mean, all things considered, they're in a pretty good spot. But even though they may be the best team in the Big Ten West, well, they'll need to win this game to prove that. But in any case, the problem they have now is they've already got 2 losses in the Big Ten West. So practically, if they want to win the West, they can't really afford to lose any more games. So if they can beat Nebraska this week, then Nebraska will have 1 loss. And depending on how they look, I would assume they would lose to Ohio State in the horseshoe. And then they would have 2 losses, and Wisconsin would hold the tiebreaker over them. And then if Wisconsin can win out, that would be it. So that's what I think the big story is for this game. I mean, for Nebraska, you can look at they could win at Ohio State, so it's not as big of a game for them. But as far as proving themselves, it's huge. I think the quarterback play for Wisconsin is going to be big, but also I think the running back play is going to be big too, because I was just thinking about this is a historically bad year for Wisconsin's rushing attack. I mean, not only have they struggled in every game, Corey Clement's broken out a little bit, but even last year when Clement went down, they had a softer schedule, sure, but they were able to establish the run and get, a back near 100 yards and, get over, 100, 150 yards rushing pretty much every game. And it hasn't been like that this year, which puts a big burden on the quarterbacks who haven't played perfectly, but I don't think you can say there's a quarterback in the Big Ten right now that has. So I guess that's my take. But honestly, 6 p.m. Central Time game in the camp, it should be amazing. I love the Nebraska-Wisconsin games. They always have so much intrigue, and that's all I have to say about that for now.
Oh, it'll definitely be a good game. I'm really looking forward to it.
And for those of you that haven't seen Wisconsin's schedule this year, this is their 4th game against a top 10 team at the time that they played them. So Wisconsin's schedule is ridiculous. If they could go 2-2 in those 4 games against top 10 teams, this might be the only 2-loss team in the country that has a shot at making the playoffs. So I still think they're in it. I still think they're really good.
Yeah, and can I add one thing? I just, on a whim, walk into class the other day, I was like, obviously they have a really strong schedule, but I wanted to see where they're actually ranked in terms of strength and schedule. They're number 1, and it's not that close. So if they can finish with 2 losses, and I know this is probably this would not be happy time for you guys if Ohio State is somehow able to beat Michigan and get into the Big Ten championship. If they can win the Big Ten championship, one of the quarterbacks or both can, really look impressive. The defense can keep rolling like it has been. They do have a shot to get into the playoff.
Oh, absolutely. If they win the Big Ten championship game, if they win the Big Ten championship game, I think Wisconsin's in. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, especially because we're assuming most likely that it's going to be against either Michigan or Ohio State. They win against one of those two teams to end the year, and their only 2 losses are to Michigan and Ohio State, and they get revenge at the end. They're showing improvement. I think they're still in it for sure. I think They're the only 2-loss team in the country that can safely say right now that they don't need any help. I still think they control their own destiny.
They're going to need help from people
Ohio
beating
State.
Nebraska. They're going to need help from Ohio State.
Sure.
Yeah. Well, honestly, I think the interesting thing is there's never been a 2-loss team in the playoff, obviously. But, we've seen that 2-loss teams are significantly have much less, I guess you could say, credibility. This would probably be, I agree with what you guys said, that this is probably one of the best exceptions you could possibly have, with their schedule, with who they would have lost to, with how it was a close margin in both games, and then having to beat one of those teams in Indianapolis and have to show improvement. But I still think, they might need a little help, and their situation is somewhat tenuous. And, I hope it doesn't, knocking on wood, but the pressure of having to win every game, because that's what they got to do if they want to chase the playoff. That can be problematic. So, but it starts this Saturday against Nebraska, and then they have an easier way on the way out. But it's Big Ten games. Some of them are on the road. They have to go to Northwestern. So, we're gonna have to see.
We're gonna move on, but here's a little quick brain teaser for all of you guys listening. Undefeated Boise State, 2-loss Wisconsin. Who has the edge in the playoff poll?
Oh my God! If they put Boise in there, I'm gonna go to Texas and.
All right.
Okay. Can I just get one thing off my chest?
Sure.
Wisconsin moved down in the AP poll this week from 10 to 11 after beating a good Iowa team that was 5-2, I think, before the game started. Yes. Granted, they lost to North Dakota State, but that's a good team. But Wisconsin beat a good Iowa team in Iowa City, 17-9. They went down in the AP poll this week from 10 to 11. Boise State beat an atrocious BYU team, 28-27 at home, and went up from 14 to 13. Explain that to me.
I think Wisconsin has gotten so much respect in the AP poll. You should not be complaining about that at all. They lost to Michigan. I said this in our podcast. They lost to Michigan at number 8 in the country. Had a bye week, and then the bye week they went down to number 11. And after their bye week, without stepping on the field before their next game, they went back up to number 8. And then they lost to Ohio State, and they went down to 10 or 11. The AP poll has shown Wisconsin so much respect. I don't think Wisconsin fans should be worried about that at all.
I would say the biggest proponent of that would be West Virginia now being 6-0. I know they really haven't played anybody, but they are 6-0 in the Big 12, and any pollster is going to give a Power 5 undefeated team some credit. and I guess West Virginia's earned the credit. So,
I
all
mean,
right,
the Big 12 is terrible. But, okay, I'll just add 2 more things. I don't think you guys want to go on with this forever. You're right that they've been shown a lot of respect. But I'm just saying with that specific instance, I feel like they should be consistent. Boise State's strength of schedule is 62nd in the FBS. So that's my take.
I mean, yeah, I get it. And there are definitely teams like Houston lost, and which is a huge reason why Boise State moved up 1. Because Houston was below Wisconsin, and they dropped out of the rankings with their second loss of the year. So, I mean, it's what happens when you get that high up in the rankings is you don't get that many places to go once you're at 10. And you get a team that is 11 and loses. They're right. Houston's right behind Wisconsin. They were last week, and they lost. Wisconsin's not going to benefit from that. The teams behind Wisconsin will. So, I mean, Houston lost. That's probably the reason why Boise State moved up 1. I mean, it has to be the reason Boise State moved up 1 because every other team that was in the top 25 pretty much moved up a spot because Houston lost. So it's just something to think about. And just remember, and this goes for everyone listening, the real rankings start next Tuesday night. So it doesn't really matter that much because the rankings that decide everything are unveiled next Tuesday night.
Yep. So I'm excited to see where that is. Right now, the top 4 teams are the 4 undefeated teams of Power 5 conferences, Alabama and Clemson, and then Washington and Michigan. So
and if Nebraska wins this week, they might have something to say about
those are the 4 teams. Look for them to be the top 4. Look for Ohio State, Louisville to be around 5-6. It'll be interesting to see where the committee puts Wisconsin with their 2 losses. If they go above like a 1-loss team like Louisville or even Ohio State.
Can I jump in on that?
Go for it.
I think they hop West Virginia and Baylor if they beat Nebraska. That's my take.
They should. They should.
I mean, I think they might even replace, just based on trends. Wait, are we talking about playoff rankings or AP rankings?
Playoff.
I would say you can't put them any lower than 9. But that's me.
I mean, we'll see. I've been really upset with the way that the playoff rankings have been done the last 2 years. I don't think there's any rhyme or reason to it. I think it's just however those 12 people who have all of the power in the world see it on the given day, that's how they're going to rank them. I would like there to be a more defined standard to it other than, oh, you won the conference championship. You're number 1. You're number 2. You're 3. You're 4. You're 5. But
this is a topic for a different day because Matt will go on for an hour. So we're gonna go ahead and move on to our last segment now and start picking some games.
All right, our weekly pick'em. First game. It's a national game. The world's largest outdoor cocktail party. I don't think they're allowed to call it that anymore, but that's how I've always known it as. Florida and Georgia. The game's neutral site in Jacksonville, so that could add a little something to it. Trevor, who you got?
Yeah, I've got Florida for one reason only. That's because their defense. And even within their defense, it's their secondary. Their secondary is legit. Even with Vernon Hargraves last year, Florida's defense has been off the charts good. The one rough stretch against Tennessee came when their best cornerback, Tease Tabor, was out of the game with some type of injury. And when he came back in, he immediately stabilized that game. But Tennessee already had enough momentum. I think Florida wins this game. It is a neutral site game, but it still is in Jacksonville. I'm not sure how good Georgia is. I mean, they have moments of greatness, and they have moments of being Purdue. So I'm picking Florida.
Christian, who you got?
I think Florida's going to win this game. I mean, I know I've said this over and over. It's not going to be that close. I mean, it could be, within maybe 10 points. But, the caliber of teams that Georgia has lost to, combined with the fact that although it is neutral site, it is in the state of Florida. I mean, I'm sure there'll be plenty of Georgia fans. But I just think Florida is the better team, and they're going to show that, and they're going to win the game.
Oh, I definitely agree. I mean, I'm right with Trevor. Their defense is phenomenal. My only thing with Florida is they've played one game in the last 3 weeks due to Hurricane Matthew and the bye week. So there could be a little rust on Florida. And the Georgia running game tends to show up in big games. So we'll see. I think I'm definitely going to pick Florida because I do think their defense is one of the better defenses in the country. But I think that the Georgia running game, because it is a big game, could show up to play. All right, our second game on the national side is a Pac-12 powerhouse game. The top two teams in the conference, Washington and Utah. Christian, you're a Pac-12 guy. Who you got?
Okay, well, this is interesting because for Wisconsin's sake, which honestly, with UCLA just being trash is all I care about at this point, it would be good if all the top teams in front of them, such as Washington, Clemson, Louisville, the Big 12 teams, just implode. So I will say that part of me kind of wants Utah to win this game, especially because some people think that Washington, even with one loss, because of a lot of teams in the Pac-12 have not looked good this year, that might not be enough to get them into the playoff. Honestly, I think with one loss they're in. But I kind of want Utah to win, but I think that Washington will win the game. I think Jake Browning and their defense, overall, they're just a better team. Utah's looked good. I mean, the game against UCLA, quarterback Troy Williams, he looked okay. They put up a lot of points, but I don't think they're at Washington's level. I don't think anyone's at Washington's level in the Pac-12. I think Washington will win the game as much as I would love for it to go otherwise.
Yeah, maybe arguably the best story in the entire country is Joe Williams. Joe Williams is Utah's running back. 3 weeks ago, he was as much on the football team as Matt and I are. He had retired from football, but they had a couple injuries to the running back position, and Kyle Whittingham went to Joe Williams and asked him if he would be willing to come back to the team, and he did so. And in the last 2 weeks, he has torched the two teams he's played. I mean, I think he went for 230 yards last week against UCLA.
He went over 300.
Over 300. Shows you how much, this guy he has 475 rushing yards in his game since coming back from retiring. But that didn't happen against the defense as quality as Washington. I saw Washington suffocate Christian McCaffrey. And if you can suffocate Christian McCaffrey, I think you could stop anyone in the country outside of maybe a healthy Leonard Fournette, who in 9 carries, 175 yards last week. I think Washington's offense, led by Jake Browning, Myles Gaskin, a whole plethora of receivers to throw to. I think they're too much for Utah. This game is in Utah. I think that's going to definitely help Utah's case. I think if Utah can hold the ball and not let Washington get into a rhythm, they'll win this game. But to me, the X factor is Chris Peterson. He knows how to get his guys ready for big games. He's a superstar coach in my mind. I think Washington wins.
I'm going to have to disagree with both of you, mainly because I don't think Washington is as good as advertised. They haven't played anybody. Their opponent's combined record is 18-30, which, I mean, from my understanding, that's not a very good record. It's definitely below 500. I don't think Jake Browning is that great of a quarterback. He doesn't play anybody, so his stats are completely inflated. And, I mean, what I've seen from Utah, the two Williamses in the backfield, they're quite a tandem. They have been the last 2 games. And I think having home field advantage definitely helps. I mean, in the Pac-12, you see home teams win a lot of football games. And so I'm taking Utah. All right, moving into the Big Ten, the 3 games that we talked about earlier. These first 2 games probably should be pretty easy to pick, but we're going to pick them anyways. Michigan and Michigan State, the noon game. Christian, who you got?
Michigan, and it's not going to be close. I mean, I don't see Spate having any problems on the road. I don't see Jabril Peppers and the Michigan defense having any problems on the road. I see Michigan State having a lot of problems at home. I mean, this could be another Ruth's Chris special here. I mean, that's what I think.
I've got Jabril Peppers scoring 2 touchdowns. However you think he might get them, he's going to score 2. Michigan wins.
I have Michigan State because they cannot lose 6 games in a row.
Trevor, just give up, okay? They're going to lose 6 games in a row. Come on.
All right, fair enough, Christian. I'm picking Michigan too.
Tell you what, if okay, are you serious?
Yeah, I'm picking Michigan. I don't think Michigan
Damn,
State.
okay. I was going to say if Michigan State loses, then you guys have to let me back on the podcast next week. So,
All right.
so now you're safely rid of me now if you want.
All right, 3:30 game on ESPN. Ohio State hosts Northwestern. Christian?
Ohio State. I mean, Northwestern has looked good. They've won, what, 3 in a row now? 2?
3.
I
Yeah,
have too many tabs open. I have it open here. Here we go.
Yeah, 3.
Yeah, 3 in a row at Iowa, at Michigan State versus Indiana. At Ohio State is a little bit different. I think that's going to show up in the scoreline, and I think Ohio State wins.
Yeah,
Matt's too much trouble.
Yeah, Matt's a big Clayton Thorson fan.
Not as much as Mitch Leitner.
Clayton Thorson loves to throw the ball to Austin Carr. That's going to be the biggest individual matchup is Austin Carr versus the combination of Ohio State cornerbacks of Garyon Conley and Marshawn Lattimore. So as long as one of the two can shut him down, then I think Northwestern's offense sputters. I think Northwestern's defense is going to have a hard time keeping up with Ohio State's offense. Curtis Samuel's going to get the ball more than 10 times, like what happened last week. Mike Weber is going to get the ball 20 times. JT Barrett's going to have a big game. Ohio State responds from their loss. The youth does not show. I think they're ready to go. I think the only team that might beat them from here on out is Michigan. Yeah. So I'm picking Ohio State.
Yeah, I mean, if you listen to us on a week-by-week basis, you'll know that I've been very impressed with the Northwestern team the last few weeks. But Ohio State losing last week isn't going to fare well for the Wildcats. I think the Buckeyes are going to win. They're going to win big. It's going to be a tremendous game. But I'd love to see Ohio State come out and throw the ball a little bit more. I don't think it's smart to have JT Barrett run the ball 25 times a game. It's not good for his health. It's not good for the team. I think throwing the ball on first down is going to be a major factor for this Ohio State team moving forward. You've got to keep opposing defenses on their toes, and throwing the ball on first down is the best way to do that. We're not in Tressel ball era anymore. This is Urban Meyer's team now. He's got to throw the ball early and keep defenses honest.
Call this a gut feeling. Ohio State special team scores a touchdown.
I mean, they owe us one after last week. All right, final game, 7 o'clock, ESPN, Wisconsin, Nebraska. We'll let our guest picker go last on this one. Trevor, who you got?
All right, so Matt and I actually had a little bit of fun talking about this one. To this moment right now, he still doesn't know who he's going to take.
Absolutely do not.
That's why I'm going first, just to give him that extra couple seconds. Here's my thing. I think Nebraska and Wisconsin are very evenly matched. When I have two evenly matched teams, I look for one X factor that will swing the game either way. And to me, the X factor in this game is it is in Camp Randall. The crowd will be going for another top 10 team coming to their place. Wisconsin needs to win in order to make it to the Big Ten championship game, in order to even have a chance to make it. I think Wisconsin wins. I think Hornibrook has a good game. I think Corey Clement has a huge game. I have Wisconsin in Camp Randall.
Yeah, I still don't know what I'm doing, but I really like the fact that Nebraska just wins. They've got two very good running backs, and it doesn't matter who they put back there. They're going to run the ball well against Wisconsin. I think that losing Jack Sitchie hurts Wisconsin a lot. He's their top linebacker. He has been this entire season so far. The dude is a tackle machine, and without him, I don't know how the middle of the defense is going to respond. I am taking Nebraska on this one. I think Terrell Newby is going to have a day running the football. I think the outside speed for Nebraska is going to take over late in the game, and I think the Cornhuskers are going to walk into Camp Randall and shock the Badgers. Christian?
First of all, you could not be more wrong on everything you just said.
All right.
Ouch.
Tell me what I did wrong.
Second of all, we'll see either you guys or Michigan in the Big Ten championship game this December. I think Wisconsin is going to win this game, and more than that, I think they have a chance to make a statement to the Big Ten, to the country, and to the playoff committee that despite their two losses, with their strength of schedule, with the quality of the opponents they've played, they are a playoff team. I agree Clement is going to play better. I don't know if he's going to have a monster game. I think Hornibrook is going to play more like he did against Michigan State than he did against Michigan, and better than he did against Ohio State. And I think that what Ohio State was able to do against Wisconsin late in the game, they won't be able to do. Wait, what did I just say? Yeah, what Ohio State was able to do against Wisconsin late in the game, Nebraska will not be able to do that as far as shutting Wisconsin's offense down when they needed to, and then moving the ball and getting touchdowns late in the game. Ohio State was able to do that. They're on a different talent level from Nebraska. I feel like this Wisconsin defense is going to do enough, and maybe more than enough, hopefully, to shut down this Nebraska team. And on top of that, Jack Sitchie, big loss. He's an incredible player for Wisconsin. There's no question about it. But they didn't really miss a beat when Vince Beagle went down. They didn't miss too much of a beat in the secondary when Nitrell Jamerson went down for the season at the very beginning. So I think now that they got Beagle back, even though they've lost Jack Sitchie, you look at TJ Edwards has played very well. TJ Watt has played brilliantly. Garrett Dooley, filling in for the injured Vince Beagle, has also played well. He'll fill in for Sitchie this time. I don't think the linebacking core is going to be a problem. I don't think Nebraska's offense and Tommy Armstrong are going to be a problem. I think the crowd is going to be huge. And I'm hoping for a big win for Wisconsin, but in any case, they're going to win this game.
All right. Well, we will see you in Indianapolis for another 59-0 beatdown. That's all the time we have on this week's episode of Midwest Mayhem. Thank you, Christian, for joining us. And who knows, maybe when we meet up in Indianapolis before that one, we'll have you back on. We can talk a little smack about Ohio State and Wisconsin. Thanks, everybody for tuning in, and we look forward to having you next week.
Go Bucky.